What if I told you that there are people alive today who will pass 150 years of age? Not because of luck, not because of good genes, but because they can afford to buy more age, buying more age. Take that. People are racing to make you live to 150, but nobody has a plan for what happens next. Let's start with the capital, with the money, because when this much capital chases one idea, you need to pay attention. Altos Labs, backed by Jeff Bezos, launched in 2022 with $3 billion. Their single mission? Reverse human aging at the cellular level. New Limit, co-founded by Coinbase billionaire Brian Armstrong, just raised $130 million for the same goal. Life Biosciences, founded by Harvard genetics professor David Sinclair, just became the first company in history to get FDA clearance for a human trial that literally attempts to reprogram how old your cells are. And in January 2026, that trial started. So we are no longer talking about living a bit longer, we are talking about rewriting the biological clock entirely. The anti-aging market is projected to hit $420 billion by 2030. To put that in perspective, that's bigger than the entire global pharmaceutical market was 20 years ago. So here's the question nobody is asking loudly enough. If they actually pull this off, what happens to the rest of us? What are the implications? And every single major longevity company is funded by a billionaire. Jeff Bezos, Brian Armstrong, Peter Thiel, they are not just philanthropists, they are investors. They expect returns. And to understand why this matters, you need to first understand what these companies are actually doing. And what they're doing is extraordinary. The leading approach they're taking is called epigenetic reprogramming. In simple terms, your DNA is like hardware, it does not change much, but with the epigenome, that's the software. It controls which genes are turned on, which are turned off, and as you age, that software gets corrupted. What these scientists discovered is that you can hit undo. Using what are called Yamanaka factors, which are like 4 specific proteins, you can essentially reboot a cell back to a younger state without changing the underlying DNA, without turning it cancerous. Harvard researchers went even further. They identified 6 chemical cocktails that reverse age in human cells in just under a week. No gene editing, no surgery, just molecules. Here's what's wild. This has already worked in mice. Blind mice regained vision. Old mice ran like young mice. The aging process did not just slow, it reversed. Life Biosciences' first human trial is targeting glaucoma, which is an eye condition caused by aging cells. And that's the Trojan horse, because if you can reverse aging in the eye, you can reverse it anywhere. The science is real, no doubt about it. The question is not if this works. The question is, when it works, what do we do with it? What are the implications? 2,390 researchers across 89 countries just published a warning. They called coming longevity divide the most pressing government crisis of our era, not climate, not AI longevity. Let's build the picture of what actually happens if this works at scale. What are the implications on different things? Pensions. The entire global pension system, Social Security, national insurance, was designed under one assumption. People die around 75 to 80. If healthy lifespans push to 100, 120, these systems don't bend, they break. The math simply does not work. Who pays for extra 40 years of retirement? Nobody has an answer. Let's talk about work. If you're healthy at 90, do you retire at 65? That's 25 years of sitting on the sidelines. Japan is already showing us the preview. 40% of Japanese people aged 65 to 69 are still working, the highest rate in the G7 countries. But that's incremental. True longevity actually means reimagining every career, every education system, every idea of what stage you are in across a 120-year timeline. Let's talk about its impact on wealth. Generational wealth transfer, inheritance, which is one of the few natural resets in a capitalist economy. When the wealthy die, some of that wealth moves. It creates new opportunities. If the ultra-wealthy stop dying or die decades later, that wealth compounds forever. Let's talk about power. Now add political power. Imagine a world where the same politicians, executives who run things today are still running things in 60 years from now. Same faces, same ideas, same grip on institutions. Human civilization has always relied on generational turnover to evolve. What happens when that stops? Now, these are not just dystopian fantasies. These are the questions a panel of 2,390 scientists just told world governments to answer. Now, and right now, no government has a plan. Now, here's a scenario that should keep all of us up at night. Longevity therapies hit the market, they work, they are real, but they cost $500,000 a year. Billionaires live to 150, healthy, sharp, powerful. Everyone else ages the same way they always have. This is the default trajectory we are on right now, unless something changes. So what are or who are the players that could shape this differently? Let's talk about two cases. Optimistic case, history shows that transformative technologies get cheaper. We saw it with mobile phones. It cost $4,000 in 1984. Now 1 billion people carry a supercomputer in their pocket for a cheap price. Gene sequencing cost $3 billion in 2000. Today it costs hundreds. Longevity drugs would follow the same curve. GLP-1s, which may already be the first longevity drug, started over $1,000 a month. The prices have gone down. Generics are coming right now. Now let's look at the realistic case. Those cost curves took decades, sometimes generations. If longevity therapies only become affordable in 30 years, the people who got access in year 1 have already locked in a 30-year biological head start. That gap does not close, it compounds. So what needs to happen? I think a government institution like CERN for physics, like Human Genome Project for genetics, has to exist for longevity as well. Longevity needs public infrastructure, if you ask me. Regulatory frameworks need to exist before the therapies do, not after. The FDA just approved the first epigenetic reprogramming trial. There is no framework yet for what insurance covers, what governments fund, or who has the right to live longer. And how about pharmaceutical companies? I think these companies will have to make certain decisions as well. Do you want to build it, define it as a next century of medicine? Do you want to build it as a luxury product? They have to make those decisions. Now, eventually it will be democratized like everything else. Not perfectly, not fairly, but eventually. The difference with longevity is the timeline. If this works in the next 10 years, the gap between who gets it first and who gets it eventually could be measured in decades of healthy life, which is a big gap. And the people funding this research, the Bezos, the Armstrongs of the world, are building something that will shape human civilization. And they're doing it faster than any government, any regulator can keep up. This channel exists because the future of health and pharma is too important to leave to press releases and earning calls. The billionaires' race to end aging is real. The science is advancing faster than you've been told, and the societal questions about who lives longer, who pays for it, who controls it have not been answered. So I'll ask you directly, should living longer be a human right or a luxury product? Drop your answer in the comments. If this got you thinking, please like it, subscribe, share, because this is the conversation we need to be having. Subscribe to Future of Pharma, where tomorrow's healthcare begins today. Stay curious, stay healthy. Until next time, bye-bye.